Hey friends, Peggy Hall back with you from thehealthyamerican.org. We are going to talk about bringing the public serpents to justice. Yes, I coined that phrase, public serpents. I'm going to bring you up to date about my own lawsuit. I am suing the County of Orange, and I want to thank everybody who has supported me on that, and I want to tell you some very important breaking news. Friends, it's time to bring these public serpents to justice. Justice means the equal application of the law. I filed a lawsuit against the Orange County Board of Supervisors nearly a year ago. That was after spending a year of giving in-person testimony to this board of the 5 Keystone Cops, as I call them, because they really don't know what they're doing. And what I want to do right now is to show you the law that they are violating, and then I'm going to give you a brief update onto that about our lawsuit, because we were supposed to have our hearing tomorrow, and of course those public serpents put in a motion to dismiss and put in for a demur, which means we now have to answer their objections. It's all working according to plan. In God we trust, and I am so optimistic about the outcome. Even if the result is not what I want, taking action is still important. So the first thing I'm going to do is answer your question, which is, how do I find this information? So what I did a couple of years ago, when all this hogwash was sloshed all over us, I rolled up my sleeves and I do what I do best, which is research, and I started digging. So a good place for you to start digging is your own state laws. Remember, laws are created by a legislative body in your state or in the country. The health officer cannot create a law. Your governor cannot create a law. Your mayor cannot create a law. Your public health officer cannot create a law. And certainly the cashier at the grocery store cannot create a law. Neither can the receptionist or the admitting clerk at the hospital. So many of you are emailing me with your concerning situations in great distress, and it distresses me because I've already answered your questions in my hundreds of videos. So like I rolled up my sleeves to do the research, I've done the research for you, but it does take you watching the videos to educate yourself. So it's there for you. Anybody new to the channel, in fact, even if you're not new to the channel, you can click on the description, which is the Healthy American Peggy Hall, and then click on the playlist, and you'll see a playlist for medical rights. You'll see a playlist about colleges. You'll see a playlist about Board of Supervisors. You'll see a playlist about laws and lawsuits. You'll see a playlist about religious rights. So I've done that for you over the last 2.5 years. The information is there, and it's there for you to learn from. So here's what I did. I'm going to share my screen. And I did an internet search, and I came up with the, this is the leg info, L-E-G, like legislative, legislativeinfo.legislator.ca.gov. It will be different for your state, but you can just do a search for laws in your state. And then I went to the California Health and Safety Code, and I clicked on that. And believe it or not, over the last couple of years, you probably do believe it. So what I did is I actually read all of these laws. I read through all of these laws, and it's not just this list, because when you click through, you're going to see that it takes you to even more laws. So here it is, Administration of Public Health. It might be called something different in your state. And I read through all of these. I read about the general powers of the department, and I read all about everything that you can see here. So I learned about the local health departments and what authority they have and don't have. And then I clicked and I read about local health emergencies, and that's where I'm going to go now. So here we are in the most important part, in my view, related to my lawsuit, because the point of my lawsuit, which I'm going to share with you in just a moment, a summary of, is to enforce the local Board of Supervisors to follow the law. What a novel concept for these public serpents. It's very difficult for them to follow the law. And I know that because many of the previous public serpents have been convicted of felonies and they serve time behind bars. So I know they don't like the law very much. I had one of their staffers when I called the Board of Supervisors, my supervisor, and I kid you not, I need to tell you this face to face, I kid you not, one of the staffers twice told me, well, we're not really up on the law. And I said, well, guess what? I'm up on the law, and I'm going to teach you the law that your supervisor is required to follow. So this law is called California Health and Safety Code 101080. It's one paragraph long, and my lawsuit has the action where we are petitioning the court to require the Board of Supervisors to follow the law. Oh my gosh, it's so difficult, isn't it? And they've been fighting us for over a year. And they said, well, she doesn't have the right to file a lawsuit. That's their response. It's so juvenile. And it's really sad that they are so inept and incompetent and intentionally deceptive and ignorant. I mean, it's really sad. I guess that's why they're the public serpents, because they're so easily manipulated. So let's look at the law first, and I know that you are able to understand it. Unfortunately, the mental capacity and the intellectual ability of many of these public servants is not at the level where they can actually read and understand. Maybe they went to public school. Maybe that's why their reading comprehension is so poor. I know you guys like my humor, which is why I like to inject it. So here we go. We're going to take a look at California Health and Safety Code 101080. Some of you may be watching this on your phone. I know it's difficult to read, so I will read it for you. Ooh, that's really large now. Let me get down to a readable size. All right. California Health and Safety Code 101080. Whenever a release, spill, escape, or entry of waste occurs, as described in paragraph 2 of subdivision B of section 1075, which is right here, which we're not talking about hazardous waste, so that's all right, and the director or the local health officer reasonably determines that the waste is a hazardous waste or medical waste, or that it may become a hazardous waste or medical waste because of a combination or reaction with other substances or materials, and the director or local health officer reasonably determines that the release or escape is an immediate threat to the public health. Now, that's what the law used to say. And then a few years ago, they injected this new phrase, which now says, or a communicable disease, chemical agent, non-communicable, biologic agent, toxin, or radioactive agent, the director may declare a health emergency. All right, here we go. And the local health officer may declare a local health emergency. This is where we are. This is the crux of the lawsuit. Our local health agent declared a local health emergency in the jurisdiction, in the county of Orange, all right? Because they determined that cooties was an imminent threat. Now, here we go. This is the most important part of the law that they are denying and rejecting and violating. Whenever a local health emergency is declared by a local health officer pursuant to this section, meaning in accordance with this law, the local health emergency shall not remain in effect for a period in excess of 7 days. There's more to the law, but let's just camp out on that point for a moment. 7 days. How many days is it now? Oh, like 900 days, something like that. So the local health officer in Orange County declared cooties as a public health emergency. And they have authority under California Health and Safety Code 101080 to declare the emergency, but it can only remain in effect for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days. And then the Board of Supervisors has to either approve it or terminate it. Let's go on, shall we? So the law continues to say, the local health emergency shall not remain in effect for a period in excess of 7 days unless it has been ratified by the Board of Supervisors or City Council, whichever is applicable to the jurisdiction. It's the Board of Supervisors because we are dealing with a county-wide emergency that's been going on for 3 years. Isn't that funny? Imagine going to the emergency room and they keep you there for 3 years. No, that's not going to happen. They're going to either send you home, they're going to put you in the hospital, but not in the emergency room. Why? Because it's no longer an emergency. The nature of the word emergency is imminent. It means that it possibly was unforeseen and that the gravity of the situation is so large that they have to scramble in order to respond to it. I guess they're still scrambling. aren't they? Oh, they're scrambling. They're scrambling their brains to try to come up with an excuse for why they're breaking the law. It's absolutely, yeah, despicable. That's it. So let's go on now, shall we? And the rest of the law that they are violating so blatantly says, and this is the most important part that we have in our lawsuit, the Board of Supervisors or City Council, if applicable, shall review at least every 30 days until the local health emergency is terminated, the need for continuing the local health emergency. I'm sorry, friends, it's no laughing matter. It's no laughing matter when you have been denied medical care, when you are losing your job, when your kids can't go to school, when you can't go shopping, when you cannot participate in the public realm of public life. It is no laughing matter. But what is laughable is how ludicrous the public serpents are. So let's just summarize. The law says that a local health officer in a county in California can declare a public health emergency if there is some kind of disease or biologic agent, or there's some sort of chemical spill, all right? There's some kind of hazardous waste event. That can only be in effect for 7 days. And then the board has to vote whether to continue it or to terminate it. And then the board has to review it every 30 days to make sure that it's not still an emergency. Now, here's what's been happening. For the first couple of months, they never reviewed it. And I know because I went back and I watched every single one of the board meetings and I reviewed the minutes. And so I called the attorney. I can't even really use that word because I don't think that he's qualified to be giving them legal advice. The county counsel, meaning COUNSEL, the advisor to the county. And I said, hey, Leon Page, isn't it true that they have to review this every 30 days? I've not seen it on the agenda. And he kind of hemmed and hawed and said, well, it's because it's a state of emergency. That's true, but it was declared as a local health emergency. And there's a law that actually restricts and describes what you as the board, what the board has to do. It's bound by law, so they're violating the law. So guess what? At the next meeting, they put it on the agenda. And guess what? They continued the emergency. So thousands of us started showing up at these board meetings, bringing evidence of no emergency and requiring them to vote on terminating the emergency, and they never did it. They continued with their Keystone Cops. They continued with all their fake, phony, and fraudulent data, and they continued to hogwash everyone and bamboozle and, sidestep all of the laws, and we the people are onto them. So after a year of going in front of them with testimony, of bringing all of the laws that they were violating, I decided I'm going to bring a lawsuit because they're so ignorant. Is it inept? Is it incapable? Or is it just intentionally deceptive? I think all of the above would be my answer. So we filed the lawsuit with a court to have the judge force the board to put this on the agenda as the law requires. It's open and shut, my friends, but you know the public serpents, they get such slimy advice and they really are just like incompetent is the word that comes to mind. So let's go back to the law and we'll finish up because there's one more phrase that is extremely important, and this is why we are doing this lawsuit. Now, before I continue, let me just say that I know, because I already hear it. I've already read the emails. Peggy, your lawsuit isn't going to do anything. It's doing things, my friends. Oh, it's doing things. It is taking action. And I can live in my own personal dignity and respect, knowing that I stood up for my word and I stood up for freedom. And many court rulings have come out in favor of the law. Just look at the Supreme Court recently. And look at other federal courts. So I reject the notion that sitting on the couch and complaining is better than filing a lawsuit. There is no argument you can bring me that I cannot rebut with my view. The other thing is that we are educating the judge. We are educating the clerks who are typing up all of this information. And the most beautiful thing in my view is that the county has to give resources and time and energy and personnel to respond to this lawsuit. So they know when I told them that I am going to sue you, they know that I am a person of my word and that I stood up for myself and for all y'all in Orange County, 3 million people, and for all the 40 million plus another 5 million undocumented in California. I'm standing up for all of those 45 million people, because when this lawsuit is settled, it is going to be an example for every county in the United States. And the point of the lawsuit is not to terminate the emergency. The point of the lawsuit, are you ready? Drum roll, please. Do you know the point of the lawsuit? Let me know in a comment. What's that? What did you say? You're exactly right. The point of the lawsuit is to have a judge rule and order this public department, this public agency to follow the law, not follow the science. We are not a government that's run on science. And Don Wagner, one of the supervisors, that was his favorite phrase. He probably has it on a t-shirt, on a hat, on a bumper sticker. I bet if you went into his house, you would see it on his refrigerator on a magnet. And it says, follow the science. He loved that phrase. Now, I haven't been to a board meeting for a year because after I filed my lawsuit, there's no reason for me to go because I am putting my money where my mouth is. And it's cost a lot of money. And I thank all of you that have sent a few dollars and all of your prayers to support me in this. So we were supposed to have our hearing tomorrow, August 18th. It has been put on for September 22nd. I'm going to read you the judge's preliminary ruling in just a moment. I will finalize and formalize those words in just a moment. But first, I want to finish showing you this law. So you don't have to file a lawsuit. I did it. I did it for you. I did it for every freedom-loving American. So let's continue. And I'm a yay-sayer, my friends. I'm not a naysayer. We have a country full of naysayers, and I'm going to overwhelm them with my yay-sayerness. Yes, I made up that word as well. Here we go. The Board of Supervisors shall review at least every 30 days. They should be doing it every meeting until the local health emergency is terminated. The need for continuing the local health emergency, and here we go, and shall proclaim the termination of the local health emergency at the earliest possible date that conditions warrant the termination. Friends, there's some criteria that has to be met in order to determine whether or not it's an emergency. Number one, is the personnel of the county overwhelmed? No. No one, in fact, it's the opposite. They have empty hospital rooms. They closed off floors. Some of the hospitals are almost going out of business because they didn't have enough business. So there is no evidence of this local health emergency overwhelming the personnel. What about overwhelming the services? Are there enough ambulances? Yes, there are. How about overwhelming the materials? Are there enough ventilators and suffocation devices and gowns and protective equipment? Yes, there is. Has there been an activation of a mutual aid agreement between counties? In other words, do we have all of the personnel from San Diego? Have they come to Orange County to help us in our time of need? No. So there is no evidence for any health emergency. The biggest of all is that the emergency council in the county of Orange is run by the sheriff's department, and the sheriff's department convenes an emergency council. And on that emergency council is the chief of police, the sheriff, there is the head of the water and power, the head of the hospitals. So all of the key players in the county are on this emergency council. Now, I looked into the emergency council and I did my research. Do you know how often the emergency council is meeting in the county of Orange because of this ongoing, destructive, massive health emergency? Do you think they meet every day? No, not every day. What's that? Did you say weekly? No, they don't meet weekly. Every other week? No, actually from the very beginning of the emergency, they have not been meeting every other week. Monthly, did you say? No. No, the emergency council to oversee this emergency has not been meeting monthly. Every other month? No, they're not meeting every other month. They are meeting quarterly. They are meeting quarterly. Your Honor, I would like to submit for the record evidence of the emergency council meetings from the sheriff's department, and they are meeting quarterly. Does that meet the level of an emergency? Uh, my friends, because they can't win this case on the merits, they are acting like adolescents, right? It's like, well, my dad's better than your dad. That's their argument. Their argument is, well, Peggy Hall, she doesn't have the right to sue us. That's their argument. How sad, how stupid. It's really ridiculous. So let me do this. We are now going to look at the actual statement of the judge, and I have that for you. And I'm going to bring this up right here. So let me share my screen. And this is so interesting. It's called a tentative ruling. That's what I meant to say. I know a lot about the law. I have a master's degree in international law and policy. I've got a bachelor's degree in political science. I'm just fascinated with the law. I've studied it, but I have not been in court, so I don't know the court proceedings. So that is what I'm learning and teaching you as well. And I have a lovely representation, and we had our conference today, and this is what was shared with me. Tentative rulings. This is the Judge Richard Lee, and he gave a tentative ruling on our case. Here we go. Hall versus Orange, the County of Orange. I love it. Oh my gosh, I've got to frame this. You see, friends, wait, before we go any further, I just need to let you know how important it is to take action. It's important for you to stand up for your rights. Stop focusing on the outcome. I have no control over the outcome. I have no control over what the judge rules at all. What I have control over is the information that I present. I have control over my own research. I have control over my own ability to bring this case to court. But I have no control over the result. Why in the world would I lose sleep over the result when I can't control it? But I am standing on victory right now. In God we trust. I am already victorious regardless of the outcome. Why? Because I did what I said, and I took action, and I didn't sit around spinning, complaining like naysayers. It's absolutely stunning to me how many, not you, not my lovely healthy Americans, don't put yourself in that category, but how many naysayers are out there denigrating the work of we, the freedom people. So I am already victorious. That's why I can come to you with a smile on my face, with an outlook of optimism, because I am going to frame this lawsuit. I think it's amazing. I've never done a lawsuit against anybody, and this is a first for me. I'm learning all about the procedures. I'm learning about the language. This will serve me going forward. God wants me to go through this. It's not happening to me. It's happening for me. And I am growing and learning and expanding, and it's amazing. That's my outlook. And I like my outlook, and I like my reasons for the lawsuit. So let's go on, shall we? Here we go. Just seeing this makes me happy. Hall versus the County of Orange. I told them I was going to sue them, and I did. Here we go. And there was another plaintiff that joined me, the Children's Health Defense California chapter. So we are the petitioners. And here we go. We are pursuant to the Code of Civil Procedure, which means we have the right to do this. We are asking for a writ of mandate. Okay, I have to stop again. I am having way too much fun here, friends. You know that I don't allow my healthy Americans to use the word mandate when they talk about the suffocation device, because you're giving power where power doesn't exist. I've noticed, have you noticed that even the Board of Health and on media and so forth, they're not calling it mandates anymore because they know that we're on to them. The jig is up. So a mandate can only come from a court. And I'm actually requesting a writ of mandate. I want a court to mandate this county to follow the law. So the Board of Health doesn't get to issue a mandate. They're issuing orders. And your company doesn't have a cooties mandate. They have a policy, and it's an illegal policy at that. So let's call it what it is, an illegal measure, a ridiculous notion, but don't call it a mandate. I know that you're not doing that because you're healthy Americans, but some people fell for the brainwashing hook, line, and sinker, and it just rolls off their tongue like some kind of lyric that you can't get out of your mind. So yeah, stop saying mandate, except if it's in this case. All right, here we go. I love it. I am using their mandate against them. I can't tell you how satisfying this is for me. All right, we are requesting an alternative writ of traditional mandate and an administrative mandate. So we are directing the Orange County Board of Supervisors to, here we go, it's so simple, rescind their abdication vote of June 22nd. Now, what happened in June 22nd? This is stunning to me. June 22nd, 2021, the board in person, out loud, with everybody watching, said, you know, we're not going to follow the law. We're not going to do that, what's required of us. We're just going to keep the emergency going until the governor ends it. And that way we can still keep getting our money. That's exactly what they said. And I have many videos on this. So go back to my playlist called Board of Supervisors, and I actually show you the video of them saying that. I was there in person, and I'm just flabbergasted. I love that word. And it's as if somebody says, oh yeah, you have to sleep with your boss to keep your job. Yeah, that's our policy. Well, I don't care about the law. It's our policy, and we're a private company. That's what this Board of Supervisors did in person. They said, no, we're not gonna put it on the agenda anymore. Stunning, stunning. All right, here we go. So they need to rescind that vote, and they need to reclaim their statutory duties. Now, and there's another law, 8630, Government Code 8630, which is basically the same exact law, and Health and Safety Code 101080 to review local county conditions to determine whether such conditions warrant terminating the local health emergency and or the local state of emergency or the local health emergency called emergencies declared on February 26, 2020. Oh my gosh, that in and of itself, it was declared in February of 2020 and they think an emergency is still going on. You see, actually, I'm going to do a second video. I'm going to do a second video explaining to everyone the emergency management. And there are 4 stages of emergency management. There's preparing for the emergency, there's the aftermath, and there's the mitigation. We're not in the emergency, friends, and any 3-year-old could tell you that. All right, probably even a 2-year-old. Let's continue, shall we? So they are to vote again and review as the law requires. And then, I love this part, they are to show cause in this court why they have refused to satisfy their legal duties. And they're going to say, because the governor said so. Well, the governor doesn't get to say so. That's the beauty. We have 3 branches of government. There's the executive, and the executive does the budget and spends the money and, hires all his cronies and probably, is a fake, phony, and fraud. But he doesn't make law. So that's the beauty, that this lawsuit is actually reestablishing and confirming and affirming and underlining and having the court rule that, in fact, we have 3 branches of government. An executive, we have a legislative that makes the law and has to follow the law, and then we have a judicial. So they're trying to say that the executive now is the legislative. This is a hugely important lawsuit, my friends. I cannot explain that any more powerfully. It's so important what we're doing, and it appears with the judge's summary that he knows exactly what the score is. And here we go. I'm having way too much fun. So this judge wants the respondents, which is the Board of Supervisors, to show the court why they have refused to satisfy their legal duties as the governing authority in the county to both review the local conditions and or terminate the local emergency at the earliest possible date the conditions warrant. Now, I just love this. And our lawsuit says that they have a clear, present, ministerial, and mandatory duty to terminate the emergencies under these codes. And then let me just go on a little bit. So what happened is, this summarizes the lawsuit. It's very, very good. But here's the funny thing. Here's their response. Here's what the county says, that I have no right to have this legal action. That I, Peggy Hall, I have no right to request a writ of mandate. Well, then why does a writ of mandate exist? So what happens now is on September 22nd, our argument is going to go back to the court, reaffirming that I have standing, that's what it's called, that I have the right to bring this lawsuit against the county. I think it is hilarious, and may justice be served to these public serpents? Because they cannot argue on the law, because the law is clear and they're violating the law, they're doing a distraction and a deflection. And this is exactly what the slimy attorneys do. Well, I don't know if I want to call the attorneys slimy, but maybe I will. Their tactics are certainly slimy. And these slimy tactics are a distraction and a diversion, and they're taught to do that in law school. So instead of arguing the actual facts of the law, because the law is on our side, they're trying to discredit me as a taxpayer and resident in Orange County, saying that I don't have the standing to sue them. Talk about ignorance. So friends, the lawsuit is still going on. For those of you that have assisted in this, every time I am, this is costing me more and more money, and the county knows this. And guess what? I would rather end up homeless, starving on the street with justice being served than to not go forward with this. They think that they're going to bleed me dry, and it's not going to happen because I am marching this all the way to heaven. For those of you that would like to support what I'm doing, thank you so much. Your prayers mean so much. Many of you have sent me $5, $10. It all adds up, and it's right here on the home page, thehealthyamerican.org. Learn about your God-given rights and the laws that protect them. Here it is. I have the whole update about the lawsuit, and then I summarize it here. I will actually add an additional link so you can read in detail what I showed you. That is the tentative ruling. And then here is where you can, if you want, you can just put in $2 and you could, or $3, I'm not sure what they allow, and then you can send that here. It really helps me keep this ship afloat. I'm so grateful to the moderators. I'm thankful to all of my lovely Healthy Americans on board here. And then what I want to do is I still have some very distressing situations where people email me with problems that I've already solved. And it literally keeps me up at night because I'm racking my brain trying to figure out how can I explain this differently. So when I've got let me share my screen again, and here we are going live. And when you go on my page and you click on playlist, and then you're going to see the playlist that I have. So I have, let's scroll through these. I have information about, here we go, your medical rights. I've got a whole playlist. I've got over 40 videos about your medical rights. And then people will email me telling me that they were denied and they were discriminated against. And it's very disturbing to me because I've got over 40 videos. There I am with shorter hair. I have over 40 free videos about your medical rights. And then I've got freedom learning. I've got Board of Supervisors. I've got court issues all about the needle. I've got laws and legal. I've got over 200 videos. I've got over 200 videos for religious exemptions. Look at that. And then people say, well, Peggy, I don't have time to go through the videos. Well, don't you want to learn about your rights? Don't you want to learn about how to stand up for yourself? To ask me to summarize in an email what I've already researched and taught you in these videos is not a good use of my time. I can't answer one-on-one. I answer one too many. I've got, I think, 5.5 million views on YouTube. So I've been able to help. And maybe those have been multiple, one person watching multiple videos. So let's say at least over 1 million people that I've helped with my free videos. Maybe even more when these have been linked elsewhere on other platforms that aren't even counted here. So I'm not able to answer you one-to-one when I've already answered you in the videos. And then to say, well, I don't have time to watch the videos, that's on you. It's not on me. You need to determine how to stand up for yourself. So what I'm going to do is a second video here, and I'm going to talk about another issue that comes up with people saying, I don't believe in religious exemptions. And I want to explore why people say that. I'm going to read to you a couple of sentences from an email that I recently got. And the lovely Healthy American admits, well, I haven't watched your videos, because I've answered this at least 100 times as to why seeking a religious exemption is not giving in. Stay tuned. I'm a little bit speechless. So stay tuned, friends, and I'm going to cover that in the very next video. Thanks, everybody, for being on board. And I'm always over at thehealthyamerican.org. Be sure you're on the newsletter.